Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lifelong Learners. Today's episode, we will look at autism and sensory overload from my own lived experience. I also want to talk about how our president is still attacking the autism community. If anyone has suggestions for upcoming episodes, you can email me at lifelonglearnerspodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow me on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Now, let's dive into the world of autism, sensory overload, and how our president still views autism as a so-called disease when it's not. Keeping it real, Holly Tetreault. Sensory overload, from my experience, is when my body is overstimulated by sound or sight. Again, sensory overload is different for each person on the autism spectrum. For example, someone might get overwhelmed by the slightest touch. Others may get overwhelmed by many different things in their environment. In my experience, when I have sensory overload, my body goes into fight or flight mode because one or all of my five senses are overstimulated. In these moments, I find it hard to socialize with other people. Even something as simple as taking out the trash or doing the dishes becomes a struggle. Our president is doing everything he can to wipe out the disability population. He is trying to scare people into thinking that people with disabilities are a bad thing, but it's not. When you see someone flapping their hands or jumping up and down, it could be that we're overstimulated, or it could mean that we're expressing happiness, joy, and excitement. At first, I didn't know what sensory overload was or how it was related to all the intense feelings I was having after being in crowded places for long periods of time. Restaurants can be hard for me because you have multiple conversations happening at once. The lighting can be too bright. When I am sitting at the table in a restaurant, I am looking around the room at all those sensory input, and it can be hard to focus on what's in front of me. Sensory overload, for me, can vary on a daily basis. One day, I can handle all the sensory input. Other times, I can only handle some are no sensory input at all. It depends on what I am doing. In situations where my senses are overloaded, I find it helpful to have some of my fidget toys and my stuffed animals. Over the years, I have learned what strategies work when I need to calm down. Even just getting up and leaving the room I am in for a couple minutes helps my body avoid sensory overload. Other things that people might not think that would be overstimulating. I have a hard time listening to someone else talking when there's multiple conversations happening at once. It's hard for me to tune out the noise in the background, and it can become overwhelming. Individuals with autism take in too much information from the world around them. All this information can get stuck in our brains because autistic individuals can only process so much before there's no more room left, and all of these emotions bottle up to the surface and it overloads us. Taking care of ourselves after we have an episode of sensory overload is important because too many times I hear people with autism blaming themselves for having their feelings, having meltdowns, and so much more. Having autism doesn't make you any less of a person. Being on the autism spectrum is amazing. There might be days where a situation might be too overstimulating for me, and I can choose to continue doing that overwhelming activity, or I can find an activity that is more sensory friendly. There are ways to modify activities so you feel calmer in anxiety provoking situations. I find that bringing my noise canceling headphones to places I know where it will be loud is helpful for me. Having fidget toys and stuffed animals to keep my hands busy. Our president is trying to take away services that help individuals with autism, such as occupational therapy, healthcare, therapy, the United Art. There are so many services that help individuals with autism thrive in the community. There are too many services to name them all. I am doing my best every day to manage sensory overload because most times I don't know that I am overstimulated until my body shuts down and I cry. It's hard for me to notice that I'm overwhelmed and I need a break from the sensory input. When my brain takes in too much information. I get tired, I cry. It's hard for me to concentrate on what I'm doing. Other times, I get angry and frustrated with other people, and my feelings are heightened during these episodes. After an episode of sensory overload, I have noticed that I am more tired, not in the mood to socialize with anyone. It's like these episodes completely wipe me out because I mask my stimming and my other traits relating to my autism. It's an ongoing journey of self discovery and slowly letting the mask come down. Even though we're living in scary times, it's okay to be who you are. Autism is a different way I perceive the world, and I wouldn't change that. I have had to learn over the years that being different is awesome. I might have days where I have big emotions or I am masking my stimming, but I'm learning to embrace all the parts of me. It might look weird that an adult is having a meltdown, but don't rush to conclusions. Maybe they are overstimulated, or they could be having an off day. These individuals might be hiding how they feel because they don't want other people seeing them having a meltdown or expressing their feelings. Autistic individuals feel the need to hide their feelings due to embarrassment or because no one understands how these individuals are feeling. In my experience, when I suppressed my stimming and my true identity for over 10 years, I had panic attacks. My mental health went downhill. It was hard for me to keep this part of me hidden for so long. I found myself wanting to be alone and not wanting to socialize with others. Knowing what I know about sensory overload, looking back on my childhood, I want to say that I was experiencing sensory overload as a kid without even knowing it. This is why I'm speaking up for the autism community, because I can't stress enough how a early diagnosis of autism helps individuals thrive in their communities. This administration has no medical degree or knowledge whatsoever. I will continue to speak the truth about autism because people deserve the truth. Misinformation and fake news hurts autistic individuals. Once I get my own podcast equipment, I want to be recording podcasts at least once a week so I can get a new episode on YouTube and every other streaming platform. This concludes today's episode of Lifelong Learners. In today's episode, I talked about autism, sensory overload, early diagnosis, and how autistic individuals can thrive in the community from my lived experience. To find me on social media, you can go to YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and look up Lifelong Learners. I want to thank GCC and everyone in the recording studio for helping me get the truth about autism out there. Until next time, this is your host, Holly Tetreault.